Hi, my name is Rabbi Yosef Tropper, and I thank you so much for joining. The title is Sukkos, Surrounded by Sukkah. And the purpose of this segment is to provide a short and thought-provoking idea on the Yom Tovim and the Parshios, in this case, Sukkos specifically. And we find that the Torah brings down the very famous thing that the Shalosh Regalim, the three main holidays of a Jewish year, correspond to the three Avos, the three patriarchs. And he explains that in the name of his brother that Pesach corresponds to Avraham, which definitely needs to be explained and hopefully will be at that time of year. And Shavuos, the time of giving of a Torah, corresponds to Yitzchak, and there's explanations as to why. And the one that we'll focus on is the last one, which is Sukkos, obviously Yaakov Avinu. So what does Yaakov have to do with Sukkos? And one of the things brought down is that in the Torah it says, in Parshas Bereshis, Parak Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Yud Zayin, it says that Yaakov Avinu ulamikne asa Sukkos. He built corrals for his cattle, and I believe that's the first time in the Torah even that it even uses the word sukkah ever. And according to Rav Tzadok HaKohen Lublin, the famous Rebbe and also great Baal Machshava, who was born in 1823 and died in 1900, and Rav Tzadok says that the first time anything in the Torah comes up shows you what its essence is. And this is famous, he's bringing that down based on Chazal. But the first time it says the word Sukkos in the Torah is by Yaakov. So there's this intrinsic connection between Yaakov and Sukkah. But it's very strange because it's used regarding Ulamikna Asa Sukkos is regarding Yaakov's cattle. So why does that have to do with our holy Yantif of Sukkos? And I believe that the answer is the entire foundation of what Sukkos is all about. Sukkos is an amazing Yom Tov. Never do we find such an amazing thing. That Sukkos takes all of our mundane acts, every single thing that we do, our eating and our sleeping and our conversing with friends, and we do it all inside the parameters of a sukkah, and it turns it into a mitzvah. It is now a mitzvah of Sukkos Teishvu, Shavas Yamim. We're enjoying being in the sukkah and fulfilling Ratzon Hashem, to remember the Ananei Kavod in the Midbar, the clouds of glory that Hashem used to protect us. Sukkah is an amazing thing. When you go to sleep, you're doing a tremendous mitzvah. And Sukkah and the Yantiv of Sukkot itself is a lesson which is an outgrowth of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that we have realigned all of our priorities, and we have committed ourselves to be servants of Hashem. We have purified ourselves in our hearts, and now we learn how to do that. And Hashem shows us that every single thing that we do, Kol Ma'asech L'Shem Shamayim, everything we do could be uplifted to a mitzvah. And Sukkot takes all of our actions, our eating, our drinking, our sleeping, our talking, and it says if you do it in the Sukkah, it's a mitzvah. And it's the same thing with life, like the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Reish Lamed Aleph, that everything you do, in Orach Chaim, Reish Lamed Aleph, everything you do could be L'Shem Shamayim. If you eat and you think to yourself that I'm doing this, yeah, of course it's enjoyable, but I'm doing it in order to be able to serve Hashem better. When I rest, it's so that I could function and be a healthy person, and I can learn better. All these things, we imbue it with spirituality, and it's a beautiful lesson for the beginning of the year. And therefore, the fact that Yaakov built these corrals for his cattle is exactly the point, that he took his mundane property and his objects, and he uplifted them and he used them for mitzvahs, and he protected them and he took care of them, because the property of a tzaddik is used for spiritual things. And that's exactly why Yaakov himself is the one that went back for Pachim Ketanim that he had lost. He had forgotten a small little vessel, and he went back for it, because to him, his property is another opportunity to serve Hashem. And that's specifically the lesson of Sukkos. It's very interesting because the Sfarim bring down that the numerical value of the word Sukkah, Samach Vav Chaf Hey, is equal to 91. And 91 is also the gematria of the word Amen. It is true. And the word Amen is always used in order to give credence and respect to Hashem. When we hear a bracha, we also want to be part of it. And we elevate our presence and we say the word Amen, that we also concur to that. And the word Amen represents the idea of elevating something into spirituality. And it's a tremendous thing. Another thing brought down to this forum is a beautiful and fascinating idea, which again needs to be explained more, but I'll just give you the beginning. And that is that the 5 Yom Tovim of Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which comes before then, all correspond to the 5 senses. And how does this work? Well, Pesach is obviously, you guessed it, Pesach. It corresponds to the mouth. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of eating. Hake Ashinav, there's a lot of bashing out the Russia's teeth. So there's a lot of mouth going on in that Yantif. Shavuos corresponds to hearing. And again, how do we explain that? This is not the right Yantif for it, but Shavuos corresponds to Na'aseh v'nishma, that Klal Yisrael said they will listen and hear the Torah. Rosh Hashanah corresponds to the sense of sight, because the king looks over his army, the king looks over his people, and he's judging us, and he's looking into us, and he's looking at us. Rosh Hashanah represents smell, because the Gemara says that smell is a very spiritual thing, and there's a lot to do with, that's a very spiritual aspect, and Yom Kippur is a very spiritual day of the year. And finally, what's left? Well, it's not by default, it's specific. Sukkos is a sense of touch. Touch is the most physical sense that we have. Touch is a very intimate thing. Touch is a very, something that literally touches a person and moves a person. And when we recognize that our body and our sense of touch is a conduit for thanking Hashem, and we are able to use our physical experiences to uplift them and thank Hashem for the beauty that He has given us, then we have fulfilled the ideal of Sukkah, and then we have surrounded ourselves by a spiritual Sukkah. May this Sukkah be uplifting, inspirational, and beautiful, and may it be one of where we're starting the year off with so many mitzvahs. Everything we do is a mitzvah, and so many additional mitzvahs. Inviting in the guests, which is part of inviting the Ushpizin. The Zohar tells us that the Avos and the 7 Roam, the 7 faithful shepherds, don't come unless we invite other guests. They want to see that Klal Yisrael is sharing with others, and we have to invite them to come as well. The Ushpizin, Azam L'Sudasi, we invite them, and it's a Yom Tov of so many mitzvahs with Lulav and Esrog, and it culminates with an acceptance and a beautiful expression of love towards the Torah, and of course Simchas Torah. May this be an inspirational and uplifting Yom Tov for all of us. I thank you so much for listening, and I invite your questions, comments, and sponsorship as well. Thank you, and have a good Yom Tov.